Afternoon, councillors. Just here to bring you the 2024 draft roadworks programme, which I circulated at the tail end of last week, the number of schemes. So, so I suppose just a quick recap. Budget 2023 was 8.15 million. This year it's increased by 750,000 to 8.9 million. The breakdown of the budget is 3.2 million for road resurfacing, footpath improvements of 3.9 million, cycle track maintenance 400,000, social housing estate upgrades 300,000, QBC upgrades of 100,000 and routine maintenance works of 1 million. The routine maintenance works covers items such as hedge cutting, line marking, drainage works, etc. Just one thing to notice, the 3.2 million for roads and 3.9 million for footpaths, we've incorporated overheads into that, such as plant hire, enabling works, dealing with utilities specifically. And for the first time this year, we've put in a programme contingency. The contingency there is really just to deal with any sort of fluctuations within the market and the prices that we might deal with, that we don't allocate all our money at the start of the year to the point where we actually can't deliver the schemes. So we've kept a small bit of money back. Come August, probably once we get a quick mid-year review, that money will then be reinvested into the area and additional schemes carried out, and we'll keep you updated on that during the year in terms of the contingency expenditure. So just for the Tallaght ACM areas, the budget here will be for 2024 is 2.155 million, broken into 635,000 worth of road resurfacing, 850,000 of footpath repairs, social housing estate upgrades of 150,000, routine maintenance works of 250,000, and the contingency in this local electoral area is 100,000. And then just, I suppose, the number of schemes that we're hoping to deliver county-wide this year is 155 schemes, 28 of them are within Tallaght Central and 17 of them within Tallaght South. And then it's just the breakdown of road and footpath repairs or schemes through the local electoral areas. So, as I say, I think I won't run through all them. You got them as those lists distributed on Friday. So, I suppose, look, that's a very quick whirlwind presentation on it, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on it. Thanks very much.
So, Councillor Holohan.
Just want to say fair play for the work over the last little while in the cold spell. He's been on top of it, especially with the filling of the salt bins and stuff like that. Some of them ran empty, and then they were full back up as well. So just fair play.
Councillor Costello.
Thanks for that. Just with regards to 150,000 for the social housing estate upgrades, exactly what will be happening with that money?
So anyone else? No. Just Gary, just a quick question for myself. Can you distribute the work schedule for those areas to the Tallaght councillors when the work is due to commence?
Thanks, councillors. Just I suppose on the social housing estate and the 150,000. So effectively, that money will be determined. We don't allocate whether it's to roads or to footpaths, and sometimes it's a combination of both. What we find is a lot of the social housing estates that were built in maybe the early 2000s, cobble lock use that's failed, and that's in footpaths and roads. So what we do is have to come in and resolve both. So that's kind of where that money is used. So it's it's almost an open-ended investment in the area is how we look at it. With regards to the work schedule, we'll do our best to keep you updated, but it's very hard for us to give a commitment in terms of works carrying out, just because our contractors we use a number of different contractors, and trying to keep track of their, I suppose, their programs can be quite difficult in terms of they have an overrun in a few days in one estate. It has a huge knock-on effect on the program, so it kind of gets revised weekly to the point where it probably becomes very difficult to keep you all updated on a regular basis. Without becoming a very onerous task for our team, and so that's why I wouldn't want to give you any update. But look, if there are schemes or estates that you're particularly interested in, we can try to give you an indicative timeline once we have them tendered. As I say, at this stage, it's only at kind of design or tender preparation stage, so I couldn't even tell you what contractors we're using at this point. But if there, as I say, we'll do our best to keep you updated as needed.
Okay, sorry, I just missed, if you just stay there for a second, because I just missed Charlie had put his hand up, indicated to come in. So Charlie,
I apologise for that. I was on the move. Just to welcome the report. I look forward to seeing the work. And last week, to use a phrase, I ambushed your director with regard to a footpath down in Glenview. And the only reason I'm raising it now is that it was a Lippon where I got a rep saying there's nothing wrong here and people have been falling over it since. And I noticed Glenview Park is not on the list. So you might just get someone to have a look at that if somebody wants to talk to me. I know Mick's been on about it as well. But if you want to come back to me about it, it's down in Glenview Park. Well, look, well done with the report. A lot of good work there. We look forward to supporting you.
Yeah, that's fine. If I can get a specific address, I might contact you separately for this meeting. I'll get a
Yeah, you might
specific
give me a
address.
shout,
And we can maybe get a direct labour crew to look at it if needed, if it's
If
just
you
a
want.
one-off issue.
Because I know your department is getting a lot of complaints and threats.
Yeah, so we're now on to headed item number 4. McCrory is going to do the Tallaght and Cycle Scheme presentation.
That's one. Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks, Chair, for giving me this opportunity. I would want to introduce to you, councillors, the scheme that we are doing now. I think we'll be going for section 38 for that scheme, for the first phase of that scheme. The scheme is Tallaght to Clondalkin Cycle Scheme, and it aims to connect Tallaght to Clondalkin, and it will be mainly on Belgrade Road and Fonty Road. And once it goes beyond the N7, we can either go through New Road or stay on Fonty Road. We're not sure which one which route will be actually taking over that side after the N7. But now there is a section that we're almost ready to go to section 38. It's between the old Blessington Road and the Cookstown Road. So that section is, actually you can see it over there now. That's the section there. It's between the old Blessington Road and the Cookstown Road. And we'll be actually doing again the Ayrton Road from Belgrade Road all the way to Greenwich Road. And this scheme which we're going to do is the rapid build. You know the rapid build, I think you've heard about these schemes. We have done quite a number. Maybe next page. You can see rapid build. It's just a scheme where we make use of the existing road space. We're reallocating the road space and creating a physical separation between cyclists and vehicles. And if you look on Belgrade Road, there is what we can call a cycle track already in place, but it's what we call a provisional cycle track. Cars can actually sometimes they enter that cycle track and it's unsafe for cyclists. So what we're trying to do is to put a physical separation, and the cycle track that's the width is substandard. It's about maybe 1.5, sometimes 1.2. So the plan is to make it 3 meters, 2 meters both sides of the road. And to do that, the way we're going to do that, we're going to put a concrete curb and then move the curb, move into the grass margin to create that space that we need. And it will be different from, like, well, you know yourself, when we do some of these schemes, there will be full construction, but this one, the construction that we are going to do is going to be minimal. And let's go to the next page. So that's Belgrade Road. That's basically, go to the next, I think. I'm going to show you a fly-through video of the scheme. Yeah, I think you'll be able to appreciate better from the video. So just talking about where the cycle scheme starts and ends there. You can see it starting from Old Blessington Road just before Tallaght IT and ending at Brook. And then we have the Elton Road as well included there. Then that's basically what we do. And this is the Tallaght IT roundabout. And we are going to put pedestrian crossings, zebra crossings on that roundabout. And we go up the road. And that's the Ayrton Road junction. We are going to put pedestrian facilities for that junction as well. That's the lowest junction, the Catherine Tynan junction. They were going to do minimal works, and what we are going to do is just to use the crossing facilities that are there and just enhance them. And that's the end of the scheme. That's Cookstown Road, just before they turn into Kingswood. And now we're starting Ayrton Road from Belgrade side. So that's all Ayrton Road now. Ayrton Road, it's a wide road at the moment. There's a lot of parking, so we'll be taking all that parking that's existing on the carriageway and creating segregated cycle track by building in a curb, concrete curb, to separate cyclists from vehicles. And that's Greenish Road. That's the end of the scheme on Ayrton Road. So at the moment, we want to start the consultation. That's where we are. And we will be, our plan is to go for Section 38 in the next month or so. And construction of that scheme, we expect to start it Q3 of this year and finish maybe Q1 of 2025. That's the plan which we have.
Okay, Councillor King.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks, Corey. Good to see you as well. In theory, I welcome this, but the detail of it, I need a few answers on, particularly given the abuse we've gone through, and also the absolute frustration people have gone through in living in Aylesbury and Kilnarden with the new scheme in them areas, which has created absolute havoc. I welcome the opportunity to give safe spaces for cyclists to travel around the county, but I just think that the current scheme that has been built, particularly up around Aylesbury and Kilnarden Heights, is madness. You can fit a bus in the cycle lane, and you can barely fit a car within the lanes where the cars are supposed to, and particularly at junctions trying to turn, people are having to go out onto the other side of the road to get around corners, particularly at Kilnarden, turning towards where the Kilnarden Heights from Fairhouse Road west. And similarly, there's similar issues in Aylesbury trees, and everyone here is very much aware of. So a couple of questions. How much of the roadway, like I would propose that none of the roadway is taken away for this. There is cycle lanes on the Bellegarde Road, but you're saying not wide enough, and you're saying you can go into the verge. I would propose that you go into the verge and not take anything away from because it's one of the main arteries through Tallaght. That and the N81 are the two main arteries for motor vehicles through Tallaght. And if you're going to start reducing the width of the road, you're going to increase, I believe, the possibility of crashes and claims and all sorts of, hopefully not, injuries and deaths if possible. So funding, first of all, I presume it's going to be the NTA and anyway, or whoever. How much of the road are you going to take away? How much of the verge are you going to take away? And have you thought of is there going to be any trees that are going to be lost through that? And if there are presumably they will be replaced. I have a lot more to say on it, but that's basically the raw boundaries of where I'm thinking on this so far. So I would hope in the early stages that all that be taken into consideration, because there's a lot of very, very unhappy people in Kilnarden and in Aylesbury and Oban as to what has taken place. Now, I know the Roads Department have consulted with us time and time again on it all, but sometimes it's one thing looking at something.
Councillor King?
Yeah, the last point, sometimes it's one thing looking at a map. Now, I very much welcome that because that's very, very useful. But we've made decisions in the past based on maps, and then when it comes to it happening, it looks very different on the ground and sometimes causes mayhem. So great to see you. Sorry to have been so negative on it.
Councillor Hewlan?
Hey, thanks for the presentation. So looking at this on a digital screen, like some of the other ones I've seen, but then in reality, it is not a weighing up. This is cycle extremism. That's what we're calling this. Some of these roads all linking in together now have put massive delays into traffic. And let's be real here. My partner and myself, when we leave the house to do the crash run and stuff like that, if Eamon and Ryan had his way, we'd have to put them on the bike. We can't. So we have 3 children. We have to go to the crash, then we have to make it to our jobs, and then we have to go and collect our children and then bring them back to whether they're going to the crashes, and all of these routes are being used for this. So has this been measured by, is it digital measurements that we're doing this, or measure tape measurements, or is it the actual reality measurement? So if a fire engine is coming down one way and another fire engine is coming up the other way, in Kilnarden, I just don't know how they would pass each other. And then we have another situation. If a car broke down on, say, the current lane in Kilnarden, on the Aylesbury Road there, everything stops. There's no place for the car to pull in. It'd have to go over the bike curbs and stuff like this. Now, when we go back, I called for these curbs. I'd seen them in Dunleary and stuff like that. But single lanes that weren't taking away the road. This is what Councillor King is saying here is going into the road, and to me it's kind of like a more push towards pushing people out of their cars, like when we take away car parking spots in new developments and stuff like that. That's not reality. Reality is not that. Men, women and children need their cars, and the older population, and they need their cars. If people want to go on bikes, fair play, I'm with them. Yeah, sometimes I get on my bike as well, but in reality, I can't live on a bike. I can't bring my children on a bike. Newborns, the weather that we live in as well. I drove past my last point here, Kilnarden the other day, and I looked at the cycle track. I wouldn't be happy with my kids cycling on it. It was icy, and most of our time our weather is not permitted. So we need to look at a new way here and not be taking away the road and angering people. It puts people against each other, cyclists against car users. We need to stop this. So, but thanks for the presentation, and I appreciate your time here.
Councillor Manton?
Thanks for the presentation, and the visual is very, very helpful compared to previous presentations. It's good. It's useful. I think generally there's a lot of road with, we have a scheme in Avonbeg, a cycle scheme, and it's more an active travel scheme. And actually that took away road space. But in reality, there was only ever one lane of traffic on each side of the road, and there's still only one lane in reality people had empty space around them. So it works well. Coming through it as I was coming up here today, schools were closing. So it was very busy, very chaotic for a 15-20 minute period. But 90% of the time it's good, and there's good access there for cyclists, pedestrians, joggers, etc. to run along that path. I think this is a different matter though. It's obviously much more on a main artery. Some of the things we're concerned about is the restriction of left turns for traffic. I think is a left turn keeps traffic flowing, you know. Right turns are always difficult because you're crossing the line of traffic, but left turns keep traffic flowing. And increasingly, left turns, you've cyclists and car users and bus drivers being put into competition with each other for the same space. And I'm not sure it improves the safety for cyclists either, to be honest with you, with large vehicles turning left and them competing with each other for the same space. I think it is good to have segregated plans. I think that works better. The problem we seem to run into here with all these cycle tracks is when they all get to the Green Hills Road. And then, like, no matter what you do or how fancy a cycle track is, the minute you hit the Green Hills Road, you go, I don't really fancy cycling down that, you know, taking your life in your hands. And we think there's a problem with the DMORS, the overall plan, DMORS, which allocates road space. What we've seen in Fairhouse isn't that the cycle lane is the width of a bus lane, and then the buses can't actually fit in the bus lane because they didn't account for mirrors when they were thinking about buses passing by each other, so it's really, really tight, you know. Huh? Now, there are aspects to forcing traffic to slow down, which does have a safety element to it, and there are some positives in that, but I think generally the rollout of these schemes is but the main point I have about this scheme actually is in terms of the Ayrton Road in particular, there's hundreds of apartments to be built up there, if not thousands, and my sense would be that you would lay a cycle track down there, and there may well be space for a cycle track on the Ayrton Road. It is a big wide road, but for the next 4 or 5 years there's going to be a huge amount of construction traffic in the area, and the cycle lane is going to get smashed up with heavy goods vehicles and cement trucks and gravel and whatnot, and all those vehicles are going to need somewhere to park over that period of time as well while construction is going ahead. We already have the big developments at each end of the Ayrton Road, and just even looking at the flyover there, you can see how much of that is old, dilapidated industrial units which are going to have planning permissions over the next period. So I would just wonder about the validity of that particular stretch at this particular time, you know, for practical reasons more than reasons against cycling.
Hey, Councillor Costello.
Thanks for that presentation. Look, first of all, I have a huge difficulty with Section 38. That, you know, like, I think that we should definitely have a say and a vote on what's going on, because this is not small works, and this rapid works, it's a disaster. And in Aylesbury again, you know, I looked at that video and I can see where corners of secondary roads are going to be tightened with this, and that causes huge problems, because in Dale Park at the moment, the road, I was assured it wasn't being narrowed, but when everything is taken into consideration, the curbs are being squared off, which means it's narrowed, and it kind of makes me look like I lied to my constituents. I'd like to know about the public consultation process on this. I think that, you know, something like this needs an awful lot more thinking out, an awful lot more discussion. I won't be caught off guard like I was with Aylesbury the last time, and, you know, I think that residents certainly won't be, because there will be an awful lot more feedback. You know, like where like the amount of traffic that is due on that road, and even Councillor Mahon mentioned about roadworks. There was at Bancroft Estate, they were looking to take the green space as a compound. You know, you're going to have a huge, if that goes ahead, and please God it doesn't, you know, that's going to be a huge pressure on the roads as well. And this thing of people literally being pushed out of their cars, I think everybody has a right to decide what way they want to travel. You know, we're paying our road tax, and we're working hard. And as Councillor Houlihan said about his circumstances, you couldn't expect to have 3 babies strapped onto the back of a bike. It's ridiculous, carry on. And this is unrealistic. And this Section 38, is there any way around this that it's a reserved function for us? Because these are not small changes to our area, as we can see from the impact that it's had on the people in Aylesbury, who never give out about anything. I've never seen them so angry. And similarly to the people up in Killinarden, who are experiencing huge, real difficulties that is unsafe.
Councillor Mulhall.
Thanks for the presentation. I think this is a fantastic plan. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Green, I'm saying that because I cycle everywhere, and I cycle this stretch like probably maybe three times a day, and I do it weekly. I think that we really need to have shared spaces on the road. I think we need to really, like, when I'm on the road cycling, I feel like I'm absolutely in competition with cars, and like a lot of the time I don't feel safe, but I try to stay calm, and I keep my own. And sometimes I feel like cars are just going to run me down because they don't want me there. But I think like schemes like this are just so important for us to get around. Like a lot of councillors are after mentioning that like this is a main road in and out of Tallaght, and it is. But like cyclists need to get from A to B as well, and we need to use main roads. And like I think we do need to bring the public along with us as well. So it'd be interesting to see what the public consultation is going to be like. But I really do welcome this, and I think that like we are transforming the way we travel around the county, and I think it's important. And I don't even think it's about telling people to get out of their cars, like that whole narrative. I think we need to share the space, and like everyone just maybe needs to calm down and slow down a little bit. We're always in a rush, and I'm not even just saying all this because I'm a Green. I'm saying it because I'm like a cycling advocate, and I really believe that it's a great way of getting around the place. So thanks so much for the presentation.
Hey, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm very sensitive about following Vanessa. Well, wish you well, Vanessa. And I know Liam Sinclair, if he's listening, he'll be very proud of you. But look, first of all, Manager, thanks very much for the presentation. It was, in fairness, an excellent presentation. As I think Karen said, the graphics were excellent. But having said that, it does set us up for some challenges. I think at the beginning there, Cathal made the point about the effect it's having. The cycle lane issue is having an effect in all our areas. I was in Kilnarn this morning on other business, and I saw the difficulties that it presents, and I happened to go to a sad funeral in Aylesbury on I think Friday, and the effect of the absence of spaces was very obvious, where there was traffic chaos. Now I know, as other colleagues, maybe Vanessa will tell me, that you have to walk through these things, but we also have to be aware of the challenge that it brings. And I suspect that the presentation before us is going to throw up a huge amount of challenges, because it is, well, we'd all like to be sympathetic to the cyclists, but it will bring up other problems. And I think it's very important that we consult all the stakeholders along the road that we're talking about, because this won't be easy. And I think we'll have to listen very carefully to the concerns and maybe the objections, or probably the objections that will come out. I welcome the fact that you've brought the report to us, but I think we all need, and I'm certainly admitting that we'll all need a little bit of time to look at this in more detail, more time than we're having this afternoon, and I'll certainly give it the attention it deserves. But it is going to be challenging. It is going to throw up issues that are concerned to people. And by the way, we have to hope that when all these works are done, and I've said this in relation to Fourhouse Road West and Kilnarden, I hope to see cyclists using it, because generally speaking, I'm sorry, you don't. But look, Manager, I wish you well.
Okay, Councillor Duff.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just slightly, again, on the Section 38 piece here, I'm thinking of the Castletimon active travel route, where from the Castletimon shopping centre to the Green Hills Road, we're using Section 38. And from the shopping centre to the Old Tallaght Road, which goes down by Castle Park, and the back of Balbodry, we're using Part 8, because it's going to take away some parking on the roadway. Now, if we cast our mind along Ayrton Road, in the presentation it says there, there's some informal parking. That informal parking is employees in the main of some of the major companies that are up there, and that parking has been there as long as Methuselah had a stick. So you have the likes of Mr. Price, you have Harvey Normans, you have Murray's, you have Home Store and more, it's Home Savers and car showrooms already there without any of the new residents moving in along that route on the two major constructions that are going on at the moment, the two apartment constructions that are going on, in addition to many more coming in. So I'd like to know is, will the residents, and I'm going to call them that, the people who are parking there, who are availing of the width of that road to park every morning before going into their employment, will those employers, will those companies be consulted? Will they be told that this is happening? Or it won't be a simple case that somebody will turn up from work one morning and there'll be a row of bollards along and it's just somebody saying you can't park here. That some notification be given, and in particular that notification be given to us, because I think the one message coming across from all of the councillors so far on this, that we need to be involved in this. This is Tallaght Central. This is our constituency. These people are our constituents, and we need to be able to have that discussion with them. I'm not afraid of someone saying, oh, you fooled me, or otherwise. Nothing to do with the likes of that at all. But it is just a simple case that we owe the public, we owe the citizens of Tallaght Central, we owe them the courtesy of us telling them of what's going on here. So I'm worried that the detailed design stage is Q1 to Q3 of 2024, which is, we're in it already. We're in Q1 now, so I presume the detailed design has already started. And I'd like to know when we're actually going to see that. I'd like to know when the businesses are going to be consulted and what notification is going to be given to them. And I also think that, at the end of the day, whatever will happen on the Bellegarde Road will happen on the Bellegarde Road. It is, in the main, it's a main artery. But the Ayrton Road is a vital road for us. It's a vital cross artery between the two major roads in Tallaght there. And I think, in all honesty, Councillor King, I think, mentioned about taking in the grass verges. There's no reason on God's earth if we're going to be going in on the grass verges why we don't put these lanes in on both sides. But 2 metre wide cycle tracks, which will basically be like deserted towns because nobody will be in them, or very few people in them. Councillor Mulhall will certainly use them, we'll accept that. But I don't see very, very few people cycling up and down there. So I'm sceptical on that as well. But thank you, Chair, for letting me meander on there.
No problem at all. I have a couple of questions myself. Corey, thanks for the presentation. And it's great to see the visual. I'll let you come back in 1 second. The visual kind of representation, because I think when we're usually presented something like this, it's hard to visualise. So we appreciate that. I have got a couple of concerns, however, just in relation, Mick mentioned it there, and Councillor Matton, just in relation to Ayrton Road. I remember when this force was brought forward to us in the Tallaght Area Committee, and it was mentioned about Ayrton Road, and I raised the same concerns about those businesses losing parking spaces. Where are they going to park? And additionally, again, I want to echo as well what was said in here in relation to the apartments, the new developments that are going to be there. I know that it's green policy to push everyone onto bikes and take away our choice to drive, but like Paddy said there, a lot of us haven't. We have to drive for various different reasons. We haven't got the luxury of having to be able to go up in the morning and go out on a bike. But anyway, so that's one thing around the parking on Ayrton Road. Also then, in relation to the Bellegarde, have you consulted with the fire brigade? The fire brigade are they have their fire station there. They have to come out, fly out in emergencies for emergencies, etc. I think absolutely they need to be consulted with. We need to, as Councillor Duff mentioned there, we need to be consulting with the businesses. Also then, I'd be interested to know if a count was done previous to the cycle schemes in and around the Tallaght area on how many cyclists are actually using the cycle lanes, and then as well, has a count been done on the ones that have been installed, like up on Fairhouse Road in Kilnarden? Is there an increase in people using their bikes? Because like that, there is a push to get rid of us all out of our cars and into bikes, but is that actually happening? So I'd love to know if if some sort of survey or count has been done in that regard, because there's huge investments going into cycle lanes right across the county, and it is putting out a lot of people, a lot of car users, and absolutely I do agree that if someone wants to go out and cycle their bike, they should have a safe space, but not at the cost of those who have no choice but to drive. I don't want to see anything happening in Belgard Road or Ayrton, what has happened up in Kilnarden or in Ayrton Road. We want to, if we're going to have cycle tracks, you want to see them done right. But yeah, they're my two questions. If you can answer all of them, so there's quite a lot there for you, Corey, to go back in. So, oh, sorry, just Councillor King just wanted to make one quick point.
And just, you've actually made it, so I'm grand. It was around, I wanted to see, was there any sort of a traffic count done on cyclists? And like Paddy and yourself, I like to get out on the bike as much as I can, but it's not practical all the time. I generally just do it as leisure, but it is good to have the safe spaces, but thanks.
Okay. I'll just 1 second. Yeah.
Yeah. Councillor King raised a very interesting point about the road space on that road. We're not taking away any road space on Belcourt Road. At the moment, there are it's a dual carriageway. There are 2 lanes of traffic coming into Tallaght, and there are 2 lanes of traffic going out of Tallaght. Those will be maintained. What we yes. The width there at the moment, it's about 3.25 meter wide, roughly. But we are going to make that the width of that road 3 meters. So it will be 6 meter carriageway coming in for traffic, and there are 2 lanes of traffic. And we have used 6 meter wide carriageways for traffic coming in opposite directions in many parts of the county. It has worked very well, no issues at all. So the road space that we have, the number of lanes will stay the same, and the width will be, each lane will be 3 meters wide, 3 meter wide. Yes, we're just taking very little space, which we feel a 3 meter wide carriageway is safe enough, and it can accommodate all AGVs and buses without any problem. So that's on that. And there's issue about the trees. We're not taking down any tree on that road. We have enough veg as it is. Just, I think the veg were just moving about 0.75 meters to about 1 meter. That's all we want to get the width of cycle track that we need. And I need to raise one more interesting point. You know, the roundabout that enters into Tallaght from here, there's no pedestrian facilities on that roundabout. It's a nightmare. There are a lot of kids who come from Clondalkin going to college there. There's no pedestrian facilities. And as part of this, we're going to install a zebra crossing coming out of the Tallaght, and on Belcourt Road North, we are going to install another zebra, and we are going to put in pedestrian lights on the other 2 arms. So it will enhance that junction and safety for everybody on that. So in terms of losing road space and the capacity for that road, we are not going to impact on that. We're just making use of the space that's not being used for anything at the moment, should I say. So we are not, and the junctions, we know this is a main artery into Tallaght. We're not going to make those junctions tight like what we have in the estates. When we are designing for the corners for this junction, we take into account the longest vehicle, and the longest vehicle for this is an AGV, so they are not going to be any tighter than, not to allow safe and access for AGVs on that. So, and then Councillor Greennews Road, left-hand, you mentioned, Councillor Mani mentioned about Dimas. Dimas cannot be used for the Belcourt Road because the main artery, there's AGV traffic. Dimas is only used for the estates, and so it's not going to apply on that. And on Elton Road, it's a very wide road, we all know that. we accept this parking that happens on Ayrton Road. But that parking that occurs there is what that make life even way unsafe for cyclists. You are cycling in their cars that are parked, doors will be opened and everything. And all those premises from this initial service that we have, they have parking within their premises. So, like the apartments, even the apartment, that development that we were talking about, if you are developing, let's say, a block of apartments, you need to show us where the parking is going to be. So you can't rely on parking on a road for a new development, because if you are building a new development, you should have enough parking within your premises. You see, so that parking I know, and I accept that those people work there, but if that parking goes away, they should be able to find space somewhere to park within the companies and the premises they work. But, and the other thing as well, you know, the number of cars that we have on our roads, they're increasing, and they are going to continue to increase. And the road space that we have, if we continue the way we are doing it at the moment, at one time is not going to be enough. So we need to think about other ways that are sustainable. And this means if we have safe facilities for cyclists and for walking, some people will leave their cars at home and start using cyclists. But what we need to do is to provide facilities for them. If they are not there, the people are not going to change. We have to start somewhere. I know people are going to be inconvenienced, but it's a process that we are starting. It takes time. And there are going to be challenges along the way. But we can't stop, because we need to do something about it. And the surveys, you mentioned about the surveys. Before we do any scheme, any cycling scheme, we do carry out surveys. We carry out surveys for what the traffic is now, including pedestrians and cyclists. And as you mentioned, after the scheme is finished, we'll do another survey and see if the situation has improved for cyclists. And again, we carry that survey to make sure that the vehicles haven't been inconvenienced, because we're not going to do these schemes to stop vehicles from using that road. It's a main road, and we all accept that into Tallaght, and it's going to stay like that. We'll give it the importance that it deserves. But what we want to do is to make sure that the cyclists that are there are safe. And if you look, maybe we have all driven on that road in the morning, there are a lot of cyclists coming from the direction of Kulondawkin into Tallaght. They are always on that road. There was time when we were doing the heating scheme, that cycle track was taken out as part of the excavations. We received a lot of complaints from cyclists about the absence of that cyclist that you see that's marked on the surface, because it was way unsafe without those markings on the road. So it's, for us, we see this as the main route, like between Kulondawkin and Tallaght. You know, Kulondawkin and Tallaght, it's not a long distance. People can cycle if the right facilities are there. So that's what we are trying to achieve. And the fire brigade, yes, we are going to consult the fire brigade. We will do that, because when we are doing this Section 38, we consult all the stakeholders. We send the guards will be consulted as well as part of that. But I don't see how the works that we are going to do on that road will stop any emergency vehicle from going up and down that road, because 3 meters for me, even the guidelines, it's enough for AGVs. And we have the Cookstown Industrial Estate. We are aware of that. So the AGVs have to continue to use that road. So that has been catered for. And the number of lanes is staying the same. It's only the slight reduction in the width of the lanes, vehicle lanes. That's all we're doing. But it's very minimal, what we're doing. And there is one point. Yeah, the loss of look of space, we've done that, and even the junctions, you know, the junction we're going to, the junction of Ayrton Road, you mentioned a very interesting point. The junction of Ayrton Road, there's a big development that has been built beside on Ayrton Road. But if you look at that junction, there is no pedestrian facilities at all. So as part of this scheme, we're going to put pedestrian phases into the lights as well as part of this scheme. But the corners of that junction will stay almost the same. The number of lanes on that junction will stay almost the same. So we are not removing any lanes, but what we're doing is we're just reducing the width of the lanes. And on Ayrton Road, we are going to get rid of the parking that's happening there and reduce the carriageway to 6 meters wide. So there will be 3 meters in each direction for that road. And the consultation, yes, we are using section 30. This why we are using section 30 because we are making use of the existing road space that's there. We're not moving walls or boundaries. We're just making use of the road width that's there. And you see, I know some schemes have been an issue. Councillors, you would have wanted to play bigger roles in them, and there could be issues with section 30, but when we are looking at this scheme, we just feel it's a simple enough scheme. It's like light segregation, no way you put bollards and maybe take a bit of edge. That's all we thought. The number of lanes stays the same. And improvement to junctions for cyclists and pedestrians. That's basically what we're doing. I don't know if I've covered everything.
I'm only going to allow a point of orders in, so if it's a point of order, Paddy, you were first, is it a point of order that you have? Point of information? Yeah. Just really briefly, so we can move on to the next.
It was emergency vehicle drivers who raised this with me, firemen specifically, and I would suggest that maybe when we are doing something like this, maybe we bring someone from the fire brigade here and we're able to ask them, or somebody from that drives emergency vehicles, or bus drivers, people who have got the real kind of understanding of how this actually works, because I know digital world and it's like council versus reality at the moment.
Briefly, really briefly.
As quick as I can, right? Sorry, Bacory, just a couple of points. In terms of reducing the road, at the best of times, there's not only fire brigades come out of the fire stations, ambulances as well. And when the Bellegarde Road is chock-a-block, whichever way you go, it's almost impossible for an ambulance to get by at the moment. If you're going, like, cars are inching out of the way to try and get it through. If you're reducing that carriageway even more, it's going to be almost impossible. And also separating the cycle lane from the actual road. They can't use that either. Just one more point, if you don't mind, because I think it's really important, if you don't mind. It's around what you said about the capacity for parking. These two new developments, and there's going to be another 14 developments. There's one at the top of Ayrton Road and one at the Gallagher site at the other end. They were built during the SHD times. And I remember all of us raising, particularly on each one of those developments, that there was a lack of car parking spaces within it. To put a round number, say it was 1,000 apartments, there was only 650 car parking spaces. I just finishing on this point, because I think it's really important to be taken on board, because there isn't, you're saying that the developers should have enough car parking space and the businesses should, but they're not, and they've gone through this SHD process without the capacity for those that are going to go in. So there is going to be issues coming down the road as it is. I'd like to say more, but
I have to, right, thanks. Just really brief, Kieran.
Yep, just 2 points. One is, does this come back to the ACM at any time? And secondly, if it does come back to the ACM, can the figures for cycle usage of that road come back as well? I don't have the specs for bus widths and all that with me at the moment, but I'm sure there is a lot of road space there. That's the point I'm making, but it'd be good to see the figures and actually get them laid out as part of these presentations in future.
Okay. Yeah. On the issue of emergency vehicles, this is a dual carriageway. It's a dual carriageway. So if there's an emergency, cars would go on one lane and give space of the other lanes to the emergency vehicles. It's an issue that has been raised many, many times before. but I don't see how emergency vehicles will fail to go down that road when there's a six.
Okay, Councillor King.
The hard shoulder that will.
Just let the manager finish, and if you just want to have a chat with him as soon as he leaves, you can have a chat with him, okay?
Yeah, the hard shoulder that we have at the moment is the cycle track. You see, if there is a cyclist, is the most vulnerable road user there. You see, we're rushing an emergency, then there is entrance of vehicles into a cycle track for me, you see, is way, way unsafe. We have the most vulnerable person with the most dangerous piece of equipment on the road, on the cyclist. It's very difficult. We'll investigate some of this and maybe come back to you. But the issue of the emergency vehicle, I wouldn't see that being an issue, to be honest. Because the road is not going, the width of the road is, the number of lanes are staying the same. And the 3 meter wide lane has been proved to work for both AGVs and buses without any issues.
Okay, thanks, Manager. We'll move on to, thanks very much for your presentation, your responses. Do you want to just, Councillor?
The question was
Oh, sorry.
Come back to the ACM.
ACM, yes. Yeah, after this, our plan was we came to you with this. We haven't yet even gone for the Section 38. So when we go to the Section 38, it is going to come to you as well. You can bring in further comments, and then we can, if there are issues, we'll put them to our designers and they can be considered as well. So that's not the end of our interaction.
Okay, thanks, Manager. Just before I move on to the next item, thanks, Manager. Yeah, you can finish. Yeah, before I move on to the next item, look, I was kind of very generous there in allowing people to come back in, because we have a short enough agenda, and I think we'll finish early enough today. But what happens is, if I allow one person and everyone wants to come in, so maybe what we'll do is, if there's any kind of questions that arise after the manager speaks, if you can speak to the manager outside, or maybe raise it through email or rep. But I understand completely with the cycle schemes that it's a huge issue for us here in Tallaght, and the issue and concerns around the Section 38, where we kind of haven't got a say in what's happening. So I do understand that our frustrations in the chamber and online as well. But so just going forward with the next item, and when it is presented to us again, if you just kind of take that into consideration. So we are now on to motion number 1 under the name of Councillor Mulhall. Can I get a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor King, and Michael McAdam is going to respond to this. So Vanessa, if you want to come in on your motion, speak to your motion.
Thank you. So this kind of seems like a very fitting motion to come after that discussion. As a lot of you know, I do a lot of cycling around the county, and particularly around Tallaght. So I thought this would be a fairly simple motion to bring forward. I know that there is a lot of new cycling infrastructure going on at the minute, but there's also a lot of old cycle lanes, and I don't know, I've noticed, and other people who have said it to me as well, that there are some like maintenance issues, and I do think that in order for more people to use the cycle lanes, they need to be kind of upkept and kept in good condition. I see a lot of people using cycle lanes, but I do also hear a narrative out there that people don't use cycle lanes, and I think that this could be a contributing factor to that there's sometimes there just be a lot of glass in the cycle lanes, or there just general grubble when roadworks are going on, and I just think it's an access issue as well. It's just a few comments on the report. I do think it's really good to hear that there could potentially be funding from the NTA. I'd just be interested to hear like how much potential funding could go towards this, and when could we see that funding coming in? it's just like cycling it's such an easy way to get around, and I just think that these little things that we can do, like, will make more people use it, and then we can see the actual benefits of all the investment that's currently going on. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I support the motion. It's obviously we should maintain infrastructure once it's in, but it just gives me a chance to drag in something else, which is an issue I've raised around maintenance a few times. I'd say it's a year since I raised the issue of the bike station by the Civic Theatre there. There's 6 bike sheds which seem to be out of order, and there's a small bike repair station, which is, I'd say it's a year since that it's been broken now, since I raised it anyway. I was told at the time that was outsourced to a company to maintain the upkeep of the bike fixing station, and that company has since gone bust, and the council has nobody known to do it. The new facility at the weir at Dodder Valley, the pump is out of order. It's been out of order for a whole period of time, probably months. I'm a bit of a summer cyclist mainly, so it's a long time out of order. So if we're going to have this infrastructure, maintain it, particularly where it's for leisure facilities linking up to the Dodder Greenway, we need to maintain the cycle tracks, as Councillor Mulhall is pointing out, but also that infrastructure is very important, because, and I think it needs to be at key locations. The Civic is a good example of a location. The Weir, maybe one at the Edge, Cafe, places like that in along the Dodder Greenway. So, as well as the points Councillor Mulhall has raised, and I think that's a deficit in our current infrastructure that we should look at.
Councillor King.
Yeah, just I obviously second the motion and support it, and just thinking of that place outside the Civic, as you were talking, was when it was damaged, someone was living in it, so it got some use anyway. Unfortunately, for some unfortunate person that was had to live in it. But anyway, yeah, obviously, if we have infrastructure, we need to maintain it. And I know we discussed it was part of the roadworks programme earlier. The amount that was attributed to the county, I know there was none attributed to, or noticed there was none attributed to Tallaght, but obviously there's no need at the moment. But I just wanted to ask a question on your report, manager, in relation to Kilnarden Heights and Kilnarden Way. That's been paid for by the NTA, obviously, and I just want to make sure that you've identified the location between Kilnarden Heights and Kilnarden Way that requires a gully. I'm hopeful that the NTA is paying for that, and that's grand, because it was the last thing we want to be the NTA putting stuff in, and then a month after we have to pay for something to be maintained or to be improved. So just wanted to clarify that. That's grand. Thanks. Support the motion. Thanks, Manager.
Councillor Houlihan.
Yeah, this kind of links into what I was saying with the ice, and it definitely does need to be maintained, especially if it's such an investment into something. So I support the motion in that spirit. But I would maybe in the future call on a cycle road tax, maybe. The amount of money that goes into road cycles and stuff, and all the people that they hate in the cars are the ones who are paying for it. So I find that a bit strange, to be honest. And this is not Councillor Vanessa, it's something that you've thought well before this, because cycling is advocated in the council and around by cyclists for a long, long time. If this was public money and it was mixed martial arts and it was going into facilities like that, I'd be the first person to hold my hand up as a conflict of interest and probably step out of the conversation and only give my experience on what I would suggest. But I do support this. As I said, the maintenance needs to be done on this, but it does need to be respected that people need cars, and the people who are in the cars are actually paying for all the stuff that's going on in the road lanes as well with taxpayers' money. So maybe we should introduce a road tax for cyclists as well then.
Okay, so there is no other, no one else has indicated they want to come in, so yeah, Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Councillor Mulhall, for putting this in. Yeah, as part of the annual allocation that we get from the NTA, we negotiated a couple of years ago that there would be an inbuilt sum for maintenance every year. Last year we sought extra because there was a need identified. A consultant was appointed and the survey of the entire county was undertaken. They mapped the network and put it into like a traffic light system, you know, red being the worst, and we'd focus the funds on that first. So that was paid for, and an initial increased sum in resurfacing was paid last year. We hope to get somewhere around 200 or 250 thousand from the NTA this year for the network maintenance. That doesn't include the cleansing, which is carried out separately. I would accept that there are some routes that I'd notice myself when I'd be out that there would be some debris on, and where we become aware of issues, maintenance issues or debris issues, we try and address them as quick as we can. So yeah, just for information, Gary, as part of the road works plan, will carry out that annual maintenance across the county in line with that programme that I was talking about. Councillor Mahon, yeah, look, I'd have to apologise about the delay in that. That old, the bigger form of shelter, secure lockers, just didn't work out. The company did go. One of my predecessors was dealing with that, and she had a really difficult time on trying to resolve it. The smaller bike stations, we ran into a procurement issue. Simon re-tendered and procured the supply. We have, I think we've got about 20 of them in stock now, and we have a contractor to install them. So there are a few of them. There have been repeat, whether it's vandalism or accidental breakages of the same piece on it. The new bike stations have a more robust piece, and it's attached to the pump. Hopefully that'll work. It's better than the other one, which was a hard plastic that you could twist off. So I don't have a timeline, but those installs are imminent. Councillor O'Brien has been vocal on the Clondalkin one, and yourself and others have raised the one about the weir and outside. So we'll try and get them. Resolved as quick as possible. Councillor King, yeah, the NTA will pay the full outturn costs of that contract, and if there are any unforeseen issues that we run into, they'll meet that as well. That forms part of a national pathfinder project, so the department is very interested in it. Councillor Houlihan, not aware of any cycle tax plans. I would note that car tax doesn't pay for the expenditure on all roads, so it's not that the cars are supplementing the cycles. That's generally it's general exchequer funding that funds the NTA. Indeed they are, yeah. So the NTA is funded by the Department of Transport, and they issue each local authority an annual allocation. It should be out this month. We anticipate a small fall in our annual allocation, but we believe it'll be less of a reduction than the other counties because we've been delivering pretty well in the last few years. So I think that captures all the...
Thanks, Manager. Vanessa, do you want to respond?
Yeah, thanks for that, and thanks for all the other councillors that put in points as well. Yeah, I accept. I don't know what I say, do I? Is that, yeah.
You're happy enough with the manager's response? Okay, yeah, so is that motion agreed? Great, okay.